to be with Dean Harris again. When I was starting out in law school back in '72, the dean was the dean of the law school. I'm able to stop calling him by that title. By way of brief introduction, I was only yesterday reminded by an article in the Connecticut Law Review that cited an article I'd written back in 1986 that mentioned essentially we've got to reform the mental health processes and the interlink with federal law. I was talking then to a lady psychiatrist today who was moved out of the state, and she said in her state it's even worse. In Arizona, a court-ordered mental commitment lasts for a year. In her state, it lasts for 90 days. So by the time the guy gets enrolled and gets his medications, the order expires. And then you have to start the process all over again to prove that he's dangerous and that sort of thing from the very beginning, which makes it such a pain in the neck that psychiatrists there will go out of their way to pressure the guy to voluntarily self-commit, which of course means he's not restricted from owning firearms. But it's basically, it's easier than going through all the work and hassle of the legal process and getting the police to pick him up and bring him in and take him to the hospitals. I just want to give a brief aspect, perhaps a different outlook from the standpoint of the average firearm owner. A number of these measures are being talked about in very general terms, and I don't think even their drafters appreciate what they're doing. Let's take universal background check. Sounds like a simple thing. My psychiatrist friend at one point knew their life was in danger because one of her patients was in, we later on found out, was subsequently arrested for murder. Yeah, he was a dangerous one. She wanted to learn how to protect herself. I took her out in the desert with a .22 pistol, showed it, let her fire it, taught her how to handle things. That would be a federal crime under the universal background check, because it says it is illegal to give or transfer, and transfer includes a temporary loan, a firearm to anybody else, unless you have a licensed firearm dealer along to bless the transaction. Actually, he has to take the gun from one person, log it into his inventory, log it out to the other person, and fill out the form. Even a temporary loan is covered under the universal background check. There is an exception for spouse, but not for girlfriend. And even that may not apply because the way it's written, it talks about intra-family gifts, but it doesn't list intra-family loans. So you may very well violate federal law if you allow your spouse to have a gun. And of course, if you're gay in Arizona, you can't have a spouse, so you couldn't let your partner have a gun. But when we're talking about the gun show loophole, the fact of the matter is the Bureau of Criminal Justice Statistics has run 2 studies on how many criminals incarcerated where they get their firearms from. The answer to one was 0.7% from a gun show. The answer to the other was 0.8. So we're talking about very tiny, lower than 1% of the total situation in the criminal supply. Or you can talk about assault weapons ban. I know a person who was on the panel that set up the California ban. He's a former law enforcement official. He told me the staffers got a copy of the Gun Digest, which is a thick book that includes pictures of firearms in current production. They went through it based on what they liked or didn't like about the looks of the gun, either listed it or exempted it. That one doesn't look good or bad. That one does, it'll be okay. That's why even under the federal measures right now proposed, the AR-15 would be banned, but the Mini-14 would not. They both shoot the .223 cartridge, both take a 20, 30-round magazine, both weigh about the same. Both the chief difference is one of them has wooden stock and the other does not. There are other things that go on. But basically, gun owners are accustomed to also looking at a slippery slope. In the 1980s, the college were regulating handguns, especially small ones. The Brady campaign was known as Handgun Control Incorporated. They were assured, we're not talking about your rifles, don't worry. Then it came the assault weapon thing, and that began to spin toward rifles. And the critical thing there was actually Violence Policy Center, which sent out a memo saying essentially our crusade against handguns is getting nowhere. And I quote, the assault weapon ban, it will be a new topic in what has become to the press and public an old debate. They also said efforts to restrict assault weapons are more likely to succeed than those to restrict handguns. So purely as a press matter, as an opportunity to keep going, they shifted to that thing. Handgun Control upgrades became Brady campaign, stop gun violence. And essentially the entire thing shifted. So we as governors are accustomed to seeing a very real slippery slope as it switches from one issue to another based